Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And for today's video, we're going to create a new PDF report. So let's start. To start with, let us create a new file. I'm going to name this as demo or .js. And from here, let us select this demo1.js. Let's copy the file, paste it here. Then we're going to rename this function to demo4. Also, we're going to change also our index.js. So all this demo tree here, we're going to change to demo 4. Okay, let's try. And there you go. From this point here, we're going to change our data. So let's minimize this one. Then from our demo.4, going to remove the other data here. I'm going to replace that with this data. Okay, so let's going to remove this one. Okay. So let's examine our new data. So from here, I'm going to expose or clean this data here. Okay, so for now, we're going to make a test data. So this data contains the product name. Now, aside from product name, we have also the uh, to whom we're going to build this one. So we have the name, address 1, address 2, we have the city, and the state, and the zip code. Now, these are all temporary data, so they're not really a data. So, but this will help us in a way of building our PDF report. Now, for the product, going to add here more. We have also the quantity, amount, and description. So for now, this is an example of an iPhone X. Okay, so this is only a test amount. So with this, we're going to make at least three of this data. So we're going to fix the ID from 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so we have 4 data with iPhone X. Now, for the amount, I'm going to check the Google, going to uh, put a partial amount here, so that we can so that we have a little realistic amount for iPhone X. So from here, accordingly, is an average of 169 USD. Going to place or put that in every amount. Okay, so yeah, so that's it. Okay, okay, good. So now that we have our temporary data, so this is only just 4 item. Oops, one, two, should be three. Right. So just 3 items of iPhone X. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change now the detail. Okay. So for the details, we're going to examine our data. For this project, we're going to split the display. So in a previous demo, where typically we display all this on one table. So this time we're going to change that. So what we're going to do is we're going to split that, where in this group, we're going to occupy this as our header, while this one here will serve as our detail. So let's work first on our detail. So from here, let's create our detail. So let's type fonts, detail, function, RPT, and also the data. Okay, so let's call upon our data. So I'm going to assign this in a bun. Now for our first field, I'm going to call data for description. Okay, so for this field, we're going to assign the week. Let's say 250. Okay, so we'll be needing these three information. So let's copy this one. Okay, the next one will be our quantity, and the last one should be the amount. Okay, so since these are only small character or display, so we can lessen that. Let's say at least can say maybe around 50. Okay, so let's work on this part first. So now we're going to replace that section in here. Okay, going to copy this one. Okay, let's see how it goes. All right, and there you go. So we have now our first display. We have the icon X here with the quantity and the amount. Next, let us modify now our header. Let's revise this one. Then from here, let's say I'm going to create a function for header. Okay, from here, let's print a simple header. Now, I'm going to name this as simple invoice. Okay, so with a property, let's say going to change this to font to bold. Font to size to, let's say, let's pick it 16, and the align position, let's set this to right. Okay, so just Okay, right, this is right. Okay, so let's copy this one. And we're going to replace this section here. Okay, let's try. And there you go. So what we're going to do here is, this will be our header, which is called a simple invoice. Okay. So next to that, we're going to display now our header here. There's a information as you recall earlier. So we're planning to display a group of this header. So for this one, we're going to display two parts. So the first part will be this one, and this is the second part. So right now, we already made the second part. So let's work now on the first part, this one. Okay, so let's work on this part. Before we proceed to our header, or on the first part, we need to compare the data. Now, right now, as you can see, we assign that data, or should I say, we are planning to display that information in this corner here. So that should be the details for this certain group. Now, to verify that one, make sure we are passing the correct data. Now, to do that, let's say here. So I want to verify first if the data needed for our display will be displayed accordingly. So I'm going to create a console log here. Okay. So what it does is we're going to compare if the data will be passed in this header section. So very important, going to name this as check. Okay. Very important to verify if the data will be passed from this section here because since we're planning to have a dual display, which is this one will be the details and the other one is for the header. So we need to make sure that this information or this entire table will be passed on the header. Okay, so that will be a confirmation for us to check if that is valid or not. Okay. Okay. So let's try this one. We need to check if the data here is correct. Okay, make sure you save that. Okay, let's reload our page. Okay. To check that one, we need to see it here. Okay, and there you go. So let's examine this one. Okay, so there you go. So notice here, so definitely the data that assigned to our header is passed by to this section here. So it's confirmed. So with this display, we can create now our header. So let's proceed to this one. Okay. So let's remove this now. This one is okay. Now for that information, I'm going to create another variable for that. We're going to call this as contact info. Okay. So the first part, going to print detail or information. I'm going to copy this one. Going to name this as field 2. Okay, going to align this to left, and we're going to make it its font bold. Okay, so let's check everything. So make sure we clear all those errors. Okay, so right now we created a separate function for that one. So what we're going to do is we need to pass this inside our header. Okay, so same goes. So I'm going to copy this part here. Okay, this will represent, it will forward or represent our next sub header. So we'll forward the RPT and the data. So for this to confirm, let us save that one. Let's reload our page. And there you go. So notice here, we have now the build 2. Okay, so right now, we're going to print now the data. Now let's head back to our contact information. Now, for us to print the data, we need to create another statement here. So this the same goes. We're going to use print. So notice the difference. I'm just using this function print, not the bun. Bun is like this one. This is typical for details only. So for now, we're going to use this information. So what are the information needed for this one? So we're going to call first name. Okay, so let's compare. We have the name. So I'm going to copy, better to copy all of this section here. Okay, this should be much easier. Okay. So for here, going to, okay, so for the address, we have address 1, address 2. Now for the city, I want to combine these things. So since this is a very long string text, so let's combine this. Okay, so what we're trying to do here is should be data state and data. That's it. Okay. So what we're trying to do here is we're going to combine the three. Uh, so same goes. If you are very much or very well known with JavaScript, so this will serve or this function serve as a join concatenation. Okay. So let's try now. So right now we added this information. Okay. So let's check our reports. And there you go. So notice here. So this display now our name, address 1, address 2, and other. So I think we're missing something here. So we have to see. So probably because we overlapping this one with this one. So we need to fix that. Okay. So notice here we only have the address 1, the address 2. So we're missing the street, the state, and the zip. So to fix that one, uh, okay. So okay. I'm going to add a new line in this section. Okay, this will push the details down below. So this will create a tab. Okay, so maybe three of this so that it will be much visible. Okay, so let's check that. And there you go. Okay, cool. So now that we're done with the header part, so this is much convenient, but still I'm not satisfied with this one. So I want to this information. I want this information to move next to it. Okay. I want to check first why is it received and the other information here is not shown. So let's check our data. So we have the city, the state, the data set, and we join them. Oh, I see. Now I understand why. So I'm very much critical to this part. So it should be a parenthesis. Okay. So let's check now. Okay, good. So there you go. So we have now our combination of zip, state, and the zip, rather city, state, and zip. Okay, good. So next, I want to display this. I don't want to align that with the header. So I want to tap or move this a little bit. So to do that, let's type comma here, and we're going to assign the position. So let's say going to set that to 80. Okay. So let's check that. And there you go. Okay, good. So this is more presentable now. Okay, next, we're going to create a header for this table here. Now, to do that, let's head over to our code. So same goes, we're going to add uh, one more information under our header. So let's say we're going to name that as detail header. Okay, so let's copy this line here, and we're going to create a function for this one. So, okay, so let's replace that. Okay, so what are the things we're going to set up here? So let's start first by assigning a bun. So since we're dealing with table, so this time we're going to use the bun. So rpt dot bun. From here, let's assign data for description. Okay. For the width, okay. So let's set this to 230. Okay, so let's copy the rest. Okay, for you to understand, Vic, so better we need to copy this section here. So this is much easier. Okay, so okay, good. So let's replace this one. Okay, so next, okay, make sure we align that with the data. So let's head back to our data. Okay, so we don't have the position yet. So let's see this first. Hmm, Remove that. Okay, good. Hmm. So this detail should be assigned inside our header here. Okay, so let's check that one. Okay, so there you go. So we have now this section here. Okay, so still not satisfied with this one. So although we have the header, but it's not aligned. So I'm going to increase the information or the length or the width. So fix that one. I'm going to assign that. Mhm. Let's say I'm going to assign that to 30. And these things are 50-50. Right? So let's try that one. Okay, so it seems that all of the data here are okay. So let's move, check. Okay, so this one's 250. So I'm going to make this 230. So the best way is make sure you have the same width as the header. So notice here, this is the detail and the header. So this one. Let's check that. As long it's a little bit closer. Okay, so not bad. Okay, so let's continue modifying first this detail part. Now, for our next here is we need to move this to the center. So to do that, let's head over to our code. But first, we need to assign the position. Now for the position, I'm going to move that set to 80. Okay. So it should be whenever you create or assign the properties, make sure you fill that inside a curly braces. Yes. Okay, good. So we already moved the first one. So next, let's move now this body or the data. So by simply copy this section here, then head over to the detail, this detail. And there you go. Okay, so later we're going to fix the alignment. Now for now, we're still not done yet. Now this one is not recognizable. So what I want to do is I want to set it to bold so that it would be visible for our table. Now to do that, let's head over to our code. That is, and from here, let's set that to bold. Okay, so let's check that. Okay, so and there you go. So notice here, since this is the hardest part because when we set that into one-time bold, every and this information automatically set also to bold. Now, what we want is we only want only this information. So only this header part. Now to fix that one, make sure next to our uh, detail section here, we need to return the font to normal. Okay, so this will serve. Okay, what it does is when this execute, this header part will take the bold properties. So this will take a pick on this section here. And after that, we're going to make it normal after this one here. So let's review that or check, and there you go. Okay, good. So next is we're going to make it more visible. I want to have a line specifically after this header here. So it should be a division between the data and the header. Now, fix that one. Let's head over to our here. Let's type RPT one line. Okay, let's save that. Okay, so let's try that now. And there you go. Okay, so I guess this part section here is pretty much done. So let's work now on the other part. Okay, next, let us fix now this annoying display. So right now, this quantity is not aligned to its detail. So let's fix that one. Probably because our description display here is pretty much or a little bit much longer than the header here. So let's fix that part. Okay, so from here, so this is the detailed section. I'm going to lessen that. Okay, so be good. So let's try that. And there you go. Okay, so we're done on this part now. Next, I'm going to create a subtotal for quantity and amount. So let's proceed to that. For our total, we're going to focus on the detail band. So we can copy this section and we're going to name that as final summary. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to fetch the description. Then I'm going to assign a string X here. So let's say I'm going to name that first. Label that as total. Okay, so what it does is we're going to make a description first, then the totals. Now for the totals, let's create a total here. Okay, so this will serve as a group computation. Okay, so right now, we're going to assign that in the footer. Uh, let's add one more properties. Okay, so let's copy that final summary. Okay, good. Now there's another, sorry, not here. It should be here. Okay, good. Okay, so this is the catch here. So since we're using now a data.totals, so which means we need to make or add a properties group by for this to take effect. Okay. So to do that, let's head over here and add the properties group by. Now for our group by, we're going to group that according to description. Okay. Now for this operation, for these totals, we're going to assign an operation. Now for our operation, we're going to add the property sum. And we're going to add these properties column. So one is for quantity, the next one is for amount. Okay, so that should be it. So let's try this one. Okay, so seems there's a problem here. So let's review our code. Okay, so let's check this one. Okay, so in here we have undefined reading quantity. So I think this same goes with this one. So what what the error here is that uh, notice here whenever we create a group, okay, this is associated with these properties, these totals. Okay, so this serves as the totals and the operation that we want to do for that particular field. Now what happened here is that since this is not part of the data, as you recall, in our data, we don't have a properties for totals. Okay, so because it is not part of the data. So what we're going to do now is we're going to assign that to the report. Okay, so this, which means that this total here, this is belong to a properties of the report itself. So, oops, I think I removed totally everything. Should be this and that one. Okay, so it should be RPT totals quantity and RPT totals amount. Okay, so basically we're inserting the properties of the report. So for us to check this, let us head over to our browser, then reload, and there you go. Now notice here, still we have a concern as well. So notice here, the first part, which is uh, the description, this one, this one has no problem. Now the only concern now here is the display of the total. So since this is part of the group of information, probably because we execute the totals before the data. So this is also one thing I noticed in Fluent Report. So make sure you have the correct order. Now to fix that order, okay, we'll make sure that all data should be comes before with the execution. So or this total. So this should be always on the lower part. So this will be should be the last one to execute. So let's review that part. Okay, here. Now this is one thing you need to focus on. Since we're dealing with group and this one, notice here our header data and details and also the footers belongs or execute before this group by information executed. So what happened here is it displays the information and does a computation stuff. That is why we don't see the final total in this section here. Now to fix that display, we're going to move those information below. So since they are the final preview of the report. So let's say going to move this each other. Okay. So very important that page header should be the last one and then followed by footer. Okay. So basically when you're creating a Fluent report, make sure the order. So the order should always follows in this one. should be data, details, and the if you have a footer or page header should be always on the last part. But basically, make sure all the header settings should be on the last part. So let's see how it goes. And there you go. See? So notice here now, we managed to display or capture the totals for quantity and the amount. Okay? So that's it. So that's how you display the total information. So, okay, for the last time. So always make sure that whenever you create a group or whatever information, make sure the page header should falls on the lower pages, followed by the footer. So this is the main information. Okay, so that's it. So to come up with the overall total, this will be the last execution. So everything follows. So everything here follows a certain sequence. So that's how the Fluent reports behaves. So that's it, guys. Next, we're going to add one more on the lower part. So this will serve as an acknowledgement, just a small text. Also, we're going to make it this total to be a little bit obvious. So to fix that, let's head over to our final summary. So same goes. What we did in our detail header. So we're going to follow this format. So I'm going to copy this. So target is we're going to make this a little bit bold. So all the information here should be in bold display. Then it will then the succeeding data we're going to make it a normal text like this. So let's try that. Okay, good. So next to that, okay. So now we have a clear total information here. So next now is we're going to print the acknowledge details. Now to do that, let us type or we need to tap that by typing rpt new line. Okay, so let's copy at least two. And then we're going to display an information and just an acknowledge. So let's say going to say thank you for choosing this. Okay, so let's make it more simple. Okay, that's it. Also, we're going to align this one. So let's say you're going to align this to the center. Okay, so let's try that one. And there you go. Okay, good. Uh, Okay, so that's more presentable right now. So so next is why not we're going to insert a page number. Now for the page line, okay. So it's still we need to add more so that we have a page printing here. So let's try that one. I'm going to copy from our previous demo. So if you recall, we have that assigned the footer. So after this total line, so I'm going to copy that. Okay, so we're going to copy that. It should be belong under footer. So from our footer, so right now, this is our footer. Okay, so do we have other footer here? So yeah, we have, that is the final summary. So definitely here. So let's paste that in here. Let's save that. And there you go. So we have page one of one. Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, so this time this is a little bit presentable. Okay, so to make it more, uh, let's say, to be visible with other types of data, let's say we're going to add three more, and this time we're going to change the information. Okay, so let's head back to our data. I'm going to copy these three, or rather only one, so that to avoid confuse. So let's say going to copy this last part. Okay, this should be ID4, and this should be Rickbo. Okay, then same goes. Uh, let's say going to change this to Huawei. So maybe let's try at least three data. This should be five. This should be six. Okay. Just for a comparison. So we want to display this data. Okay. And let's check. Okay. So okay. Right now you see we have two page one of two. So this is for iPhone X. Page two. Okay. So we have page two of two. And yeah, so our page two has a problem. Okay, although it displays correctly, but notice here the information already break. So this is one of the issues that we need to look at. So definitely we need to fix this one. Fix this one. We need to ensure we know the position of each information. Now, if you recall here, we assign this on a certain page only. Now, what I'm trying to say is, like, notice here, there's such thing as in our earlier demo. If you remember our demo two, okay, these are the fields under demo three. So demo three, when I display or describe this one, this only displays for a one page only. So this page headers only execute on the certain page. So try to review that video again. Now, since we're dealing now with individual groups, this time we should follow or display the individual preview. Now, the difference between the individual preview, each is the information, the properties. So whenever we insert page, then the name. Let's say this is page header, and see here this is footer. So this is only footer, but we still have page footer. So that's another one. So that represents only for the only one page or overall page. Now, since we're dealing with multiple data now this time, so this time we have two groups, page one and page two. The settings from the page header doesn't apply to the next page. Now, for this to take effect, we need to change that into individual pages. So here comes what we call the settings for individual. So if you want to display only for individual groups, we're going to assign that into header. Now, now we have a certain information here. So this belongs to our this is definitely for per page only. So with these properties, this will carry over the next information whenever there's an increase of number of pages. So the pattern from the page header here will be the same to the next succeeding page. Unlike the page header that only affects on the first page only or a overall. So whatever the problem is the subheader, so that will be the issue, just like the earlier. If you remember here, so this is the problem when dealing with page header only. So, but the retain of the information, like such as the data and the invoice, this one. So that's the display that were that reflects in here because we only assign that to page header. Now, since we already assigned that to header, so this is an individual page now. Let's compare. So I'm going to reload this page. Okay, so this is page of two. Okay, so okay, so good. So notice here. So same goes. Okay, to understand, let's have over here. Okay, notice here. This is the page one. Now, when we move to page two, the same format as what we see in page one still maintain the format. Okay, so that's it, guys. So this is a little bit confused, but yeah, trust me, this really confused me on the very first beginning. But later I noticed this is the simplest way to understand how to display this type of report. Okay, so that's it, guys. On the next video, we're going to discuss more about Fluent Report. But for now, if you found this video informative, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And see you guys on the next video series. Cheers!